What's up, guys? For today's video, I'm finally getting started on a project with a new type of material that I haven't tried before. And that new material is the Boat epoxy resin. Now, this video is not sponsored or anything like that, but in case this turns out really well, I wanted to let you guys know where I got it in case you wanted to try it yourself. Now, in the past, I've used fiberglass resin to do this, and it does work really well, but if you've ever used fiberglass resin, you know that it puts out a lot of fumes. The last time I used it in the garage, this garage smelled like fiberglass resin for like 2 weeks straight. It also starts to waft into the house from the garage door, so I was really excited to try and do something a little bit different. I already know that epoxy works well for sealing wood, so I thought that this epoxy is also gonna work really well. Now, the type of epoxy that they offer is called a tabletop epoxy. This is used a lot of the time for sealing wooden surfaces that are gonna be outside and exposed to the elements. This should have some really great UV resistance. Now, with most epoxy, the application method's pretty simple. You mix a ratio of one part to the other, and then you paint it on, wait for it to dry, and then you're done. So just a quick rundown, we have isopropyl alcohol and paper towels just in case we get drip somewhere we don't want it. I'm gonna be wearing some nitrile gloves. I'm debating on applying with either a foam roller or a brush. I'll try both and see which one works better. To mix up our epoxy, I have a scale here. I think this makes it the easiest way when you're trying to combine it in a ratio. For mixing, you wanna make sure you're using a throwaway cup. This is an iced tea cup that the wife had. All right, so we have everything set up in place. All the wood's ready to go. We've got all our materials. Let's try this out. So first thing we're gonna do is put our cup on the scale and turn it on. Next, I'm gonna use the resin. Just gonna give it a quick shake. This is ridiculously thick. Look at that. I might need to warm this up inside before I do this today. The hardener's a little looser, so once they get mixed together, everything should start loosening up a bit. Plus, when it reacts, it'll be warmer as well. All right, so let's start by pouring 10 ounces and see how much that looks like. Oh man, this stuff's like glue coming out. Whoa, look at that. I hope it's just really cold. That's crazy. All right, let's just calculate out the resin just to see if this loosens up with the hardener. 100 parts resin to 83 parts hardener by weight. So we have 2.7 ounces. And multiply that by 0.83, basically 2.2 ounces. So I'm gonna bring this inside while we're doing all this to warm up. See if this pours a little bit easier. All right, so let's mix this up and see if it, loosens up some with the resin in it. I do think that the temperatures are making this probably thicker than it needs to. All right, so now this is loosened up really well. Let's go ahead and give this a try. I'm gonna use the foam roller to start. So my idea is I'm just gonna kind of like pour it out in a line, and then I'm gonna smooth it out with the roller. Okay, well, I mean, I think that was a successful application. It definitely covered the whole front with epoxy. Hopefully the other material will be warmed up enough that our next batch will apply a little bit smoother. All right, guys, well, as I suspected, it was definitely the cold. I warmed this up and it is just completely liquid now. This is working so much better. All I did was just fill up a pot of hot water and let this soak in the hot water, and it warmed this one up really good. That's why the label's kind of messed up now. This one I just put on my heater vent to warm up for a little bit, and this was already not bad. So yeah, most of these are a lot more loose now. So now this should mix up into a much easier to apply solution. Yeah, 100 to 83, that just means you're using 83% of whatever you do of resin. Oh yeah, I think that's a little better. All right, so we got a perfect ratio. Let's go ahead and mix this up. Oh yeah, this is like night and day. Okay, yep, so my bad, guys. Definitely make sure that your material is up to temperature, not just your ambient temperatures for applying it. This stuff was not easy to work with originally. Oh yeah, look at that now. The smell is not bad. That was my main reason for using this instead of the fiberglass resin. I was expecting a much more like solventy smell. It smells surprisingly enough a little nutty. It really doesn't have much of a smell at all. When I came back out here after doing these first two pieces, there was no residual smell whatsoever. It's sealing it nice, and it's also filling in any gaps on the sides. Like if you guys used plywood, you know how sometimes there's chips in the layers? It's filling those in nice. Oh yeah, that worked, I think, even better. All right, so another board done. I got one more cup to mix up. We'll get that face completed, and then that'll be all the one side. Let this cure probably overnight, and then tomorrow we'll do the next side. It's done. All right, guys, we're back out here the next day. I'm about to check on the epoxy on the wood and see how it cured overnight. At first glance, it looks a lot better. Doesn't look as sticky. Let's see. Okay, yeah, this is definitely good. It still has a little bit of a tack to it, but you know, I can definitely handle it without getting it on my hands. So at this point, I am ready to flip all this wood over, do my second coat of epoxy on the bottom, do another coat on the edges, make sure this is all super watertight. I ended up really liking this epoxy. In the beginning, I was a little iffy when I saw how thick it was pouring out of the jar. After I warmed it up in a hot water bath, it poured beautifully, it applied beautifully, it was really, really good. Now, the only thing for today is that I don't have another foam roller, so I might be applying this with a brush today, so we're gonna have to see how that goes. Hoping that it goes just as easy, but we'll see. Yeah, that brush is hard as a rock, so that's not gonna work, but I do have plenty of brushes on hand, disposable ones. So we'll see how this goes. 7, okay. 3, so we need 5.7 ounces of resin. 5.7. All right, let's see how the brush works. Okay, not bad. I like the foam roller better. I think the brush also needs to get saturated a bit. One nice thing about the brush though is that if you need to just touch up, you can just dip it and use it, which I do like. Okay, so I think at this point you guys get the idea how to apply epoxy. This one went really, really well. I'm just gonna continue using the brush. I'll check back when I'm done, give this probably another 24 hours to cure, and then we'll start looking and doing some carpeting. So after letting the epoxy cure for a couple days and getting everything cleaned up, it's time to check on our wood and see how it's looking. Honestly, this turned out so much better than I expected. I haven't used like a clear epoxy like this before. The coverage is just amazing. It really, really is. This is this is considered tabletop epoxy. So if you've ever been to like a restaurant or something like that and they have the clear epoxy over their tabletops, that's what this is. So obviously restaurants need it to be waterproof. This is definitely going to stay waterproof. I am so happy I went with this. I can definitely highly recommend this material. Again, if you guys want to check it out, I'll have links in the description. It's by Better Boat. Big thanks for them to sending it out, but really, I mean, I just can't say enough on how great that this came out. All the pieces of wood have been perfectly sealed up now. As you can see, they are super shiny. I may still hit them with a sander before I put the carpet glue on, just to give the glue something a little bit more to grab onto. But, you know, we'll see how it goes when we get started on that. Overall, I'm really, really happy with the epoxy. Now we can get started on carpeting everything and assembling this jigsaw puzzle. All right, well, that's pretty much complete. It didn't take too long. I'm really happy with the material. Once I warmed it up, it smoothed out really, really well. One of my favorite parts is that it doesn't smell. I can stand in here. I'm not feeling like I'm getting overwhelmed by fumes and stuff like that. So it's definitely a win over the fiberglass resin by far. So really happy with that.